Good afternoon and morning to you guys. Hopefully you guys are excited. I can't believe that it is mid-November. Christmas music is all around and it's bananas of how crazy this year's almost over. So I can't wait to have Bill. It seems like it's been like 2, 3 weeks or whatever it is, but
Oh,
super
yeah.
excited to have you on here, Bill. And let's get going. Let's get right into it.
Let's
Kind
do
of
it.
it's time. So let's go.
Absolutely, man. And so I'm going to be navigating. If you can make sure that I've got the ability, which I think I do, to be able to. So let me make sure here. Yeah, share screen capability. Make sure I've got share screen capability so that I can, because I got some stuff I want to share with you guys here today. Obviously, guys, this time of the year, we're thinking about next year. Right. We're finishing off this year strong. How many of you guys are already thinking about next year? Thinking about like what the goal is, what the intention is, what you want to accomplish, how you want to crush it. And guys, when I look at this whole concept of success leaving clues, because it does, doesn't it? I mean, when you look at you want to be in great shape, you can actually look at the clues of people who eat well, who work out, etc. Great relationships. You just can go across the board and be able to actually see that there are clues to success. Now, when I've got an intention for all of these calls, and I want you guys to understand something. I want every single agent inside of Five to be earning $1 million. Period. Seven figure. That this is the only organization in the world where we have like the most seven figure earners. And Nazar, you and I talked about that, right? Like that it is. It may not be the biggest, but it's going to be the highest producing per person productivity of any real estate franchise brokerage in the entire world. Are you guys up for that game? Yes or no? You know, okay.
Some are not, apparently, because I don't see hands.
Yeah, like we should have like two hands and freaking both feet up in the air, right? To be able to actually do that, right?
You know, Bill,
And
like I think it's because people don't believe in themselves.
yeah,
Because most of the group here has never achieved a seven anchor income or seven figure income.
figure income. Yeah. Or we haven't been around enough seven figure earners. I was talking to someone about that. I think you and I were having that conversation, man. We just haven't been around it. And the more people that you're around, Craig, like that, Brian, you just go, shit, there's freaking normal people that are producing extraordinary results. Right. And so there's been, what is it now? We're gonna cross the bridge on 53 of them this year, right? Like not 53 this year, but 53 total over the course of the past couple of years that have earned seven figures, right? And so, like I think you guys may know this or may not know this. My intent is I don't stop this game of real estate coaching training until we got 1,000 people over it. So, if those 1,000 are all five agents, great, man. Like that, nothing would make me happier than to be able to actually see that. And Craig, let me pull this up really quick. I'm going to share a screen. Okay, good. I'm not going to make it pretty, but it's going to be functional. And I want you guys to just look at this. You'll see this on a regular basis, as we do these calls. There are 8 traits to seven figure earners, right? These are like I've spent Nazar, and Nazar, by the way, Nazar is one of the individuals that we have like when we met, he was already earning seven, but we added seven. You know what I mean? Like on top of it. So I count that as well too. But when I look at all 53 of the individuals that have actually done this or that will have done it, these are the 8 traits. They're highly competitive and they have a desire to win. That's what we're leaning into here today. They've developed world-class skills. We'll work on that. They maintain unwavering standards. Hell yes. Like I think of our buddy Nazar, Tommy Toole, right? Who is like one of the most disciplined individuals. I think of you, right? They just have these standards, these disciplines. Believe it or not, Brian, they're really good in 3 to 4 lead sources. They don't have 10 or 15. You know what I mean? When I look at the people that have 10 or 15 lead sources, they're mediocre at all versus being, sorry, I'm looking at my screen. So if you see me looking over here in the camera, just because my other screen is over here, they track and monitor everything and they're analyzing. They execute quickly to minimize the gap. They have a plan and they follow it every single day. And here's the key thing. They only associate with other winners, believers, and badasses, right? Do me a favor, point at yourself and go, Pipes, I am a badass this morning, right? So I need you guys to like freaking badasses. So as we jump into this, we're gonna level into number one today. And what I have noticed for individuals, and I've shared this slide before, some of you guys have seen it. It's one of my favorite quotes, is that obsessed is only a word that the lazy use to describe the dedicated, right? And when I look at whether it's going for seven figures, going from 100K to 400 or 500K, man, the people that I see doing that, guys, they are absolutely obsessed, Craig, with that push. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? It isn't just a good idea. It isn't just like, hey, I want this. It's they think about it all of the time. How many of you guys have ever been obsessed with something in your life before? Like where you go to sleep thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it. Hey, Nazar, I woke up at it was 1:55 the other morning, and I'm not sure how many of you guys ever had this experience. And you toss and turn for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then Jen, I was like, shit, I better get up, right? Because I'm not going back to sleep. I was thinking about how do I bring more value? How do I get my coaches to be better? I was just like so obsessed. And then I fell asleep at 4 o'clock. I woke up at 6 o'clock. I did my morning routine. Like, and when you're obsessed, right, then all of a sudden you have this additional energy. Now, with that thought, some of you may go, well, pipes. I'm not. I'm not like I'm not the Michael Jordan. I'm not the Kobe Bryant. But here's what I'll say to you: the only difference, and I want you guys to write this down. The only difference between Michael and Kobe and the rest of the players is they had better strategy to be able to actually develop this desire to win. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? The only difference between those that are excellent and those that are average is a different strategy. They're not born different, right? Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't make the varsity team. He wanted to quit. Kobe Bryant, for those of you that remember, how many of you guys are Lakers fans? Anyone remember Kobe Bryant in the Western Conference Finals, his first year, right? He had the chance to win the game. He threw up 3 air balls, right? I mean, it's not that they're cut differently, they just have different strategies. So today, I got 3 strategies for you guys, right? That I have seen is absolutely key to developing because you can develop the obsession, you can develop the desire, you can develop that fire in the belly to be able to actually push when other people start. Can you see the value of that, my friends? Yes or no? Okay. Right. And when you have that, you simply have a different gear that other individuals don't have. So let's start with the first strategy, guys. Okay. I call it the 2 whats and the 2 whys. The 2 whats and the 2 whys. Where's my share screen? Now, I'm going to go quick through some of these. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on the rest of them. And this is perfect right now, Andrew, as we're getting our plan together for next year. How many of you guys have started working on your business plan for 2025? Right? Okay, I'm going to say something. A business plan is pure bullshit if you don't have the fuel and the fire to be able to push and do the things that you haven't done in the past. Does that make sense, guys? It just simply is. And I see this happen all the time where people create these beautiful plans, they're great, etc., and they go in a drawer and they don't get used. Why? Because they don't have that fire. They don't have that obsession, if you will. My friends, all I think about, I'll share like inside baseball for me all I think about is my business. And people may say, that's unhealthy. And I said, no, this is my season to push. Does that make sense, guys? I will counterbalance later, but right now, my obsession is being able to find those 1,000 people to get them over the 7 figures, right? And it's all that I think about. I think about it when I'm working out. I think about it when I was up in the mountains yesterday. I think about it. And I need you to be able to adopt that, right? Okay. So that you can do the hard that others aren't willing to do. So take a look at this. This is our first concept. First concept here, my friends, is what I call 2 whats, 2 whys. 2 whats, 2 whys. Now, some of this is going to be like, yeah, pipes, I've heard this before, but I'm going to bring some different angles to this that you may not have heard, right? Or that you may not have actually been exposed to. We all know that you need to have your what do I want? Okay, Brian. The business plan itself, the goal itself, the income goal itself, Lizette, is the what. All right. I'm not going to spend any time on that. You guys are highly intelligent. You know the importance of a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic time frame type of goal. That smart type of goal. Right. We also know number 2, right? How many of you guys have heard you got to know your why? Right. Like it's like just about every personal growth and development guru talks about have your why. Okay. For me, my why is getting those 1,000 people over the 7 figures, period. Right. Okay. And that's please write this down. Write down there's 2 motivating forces. There's pain and pleasure. When you're looking at that desire to win, right? The force of pleasure gets you so far, but Which of the two is a higher motivator? Is it pain or is it pleasure, guys? In the chat, let me know or unmute yourself and just say it. What do you think? Pain or pleasure? Which one is the bigger motivator? Let's look in the chat.
Pain.
Pain is, right? Okay. We have a propensity to move away from pain. Now, watch this. I'm going to debunk some of the bullshit that's out there in terms of personal growth and development. Because, Nazar, you and I know that I mean, you listen to Tony Robbins, you listen to some of these other individuals, what they lean into is the pleasure component, which is the why. But listen, um, having the new house, having the bigger car, having all of that, right? When the push comes to shove and it gets really difficult, we're more have a higher propensity to say, well, maybe I don't need the bigger house and maybe I don't need the nicer car and maybe I don't need the investment properties because it's a pleasure driven motivator. It's going against our natural biological development in terms of we are designed to move away from pain. So what you're going to notice here, guys, is the second or the third is the big one. Okay. Why is my goal an absolute must? Why is my goal an absolute must? If you want to develop this desire to win, you've got to use pain and pleasure together. Does that make sense, guys? Right? And Brian, what I'm giving you and going to ask you guys to do as an exercise, right? Because this isn't just going to be training, this is going to be an exercise that I want you to use, right? I want you to sit down sometime in the next 24 hours and be able to go, okay, what's the pleasure that I'm going to gain from my goal for next year? But then I want you to like to index back and to be able to ask yourself the question and say, why is this an absolute must? What is the pain that I will experience if I do not accomplish the goal? And we're going to use both of those, right, on a daily basis. I'll explain that to you in a second. Hey, Nazar, you know what my why is, right? I shared it with you guys. It's getting 1,000 people over seven figures, man. I eat, breathe, live that. Does anyone know what the pain is? Like what, like why it is, like what keeps me up and what pushes me forward on those days when I do not want to actually do the shit that I need to do. Because be clear, anyone can do the things they want to do on the days they want to do it. It's the people that actually can figure out a strategy to do the things they don't want to do on the days they don't want to do it that freaking change the world. They operate in excellence. Nazar, what do you think my pain driven motivator is?
I don't know. Is it like fear of failure?
Oh, so you guys all know the world that I used to navigate in, right? You guys know where, like I spent 9 years with a certain coaching company. Some of you still know that company. Some of you are still involved in that company, Farnham. And one of my very close friends who owned that company said to me this, said, "Hey, Pipes, it's really good that you're part of this company." Right? Because if you weren't and you tried to do something on your own, you don't have the business acumen to be able to actually succeed at the level that you want to. Right?
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And watch, when that was said to me, I go, did that shit like did that just get said to me? What? Right?
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say to you. Like, I love him because he said it, right? Because it lit a fire in my belly, Brian, that to this day, on the days that I don't want to do the shit that is hard, like I'm about to go on a 3 week like run, right? When I say run, meaning I'm going to be on the road for 3 weeks, I'm going to be gone up until Thanksgiving. There's shit that I'm going to do that I'm like, oh man, not looking forward to it. But when I have those moments where I'm like, I really don't want to do this, guess what I hear in the back of my head? Oh shit, what if he's right? And that pleasure pulls me forward of 1,000 people, seven figures. But the pain is the shit that gets me off my ass and go, you better go, right? Because in the back of your mind. So, guys, we all have something to prove. We all have some reason that it is that is a pain-driven motivator. Most people never lean into it, right? Most personal growth and development gurus want to pump you up and have you feel good. But I'm going to tell you, you got to use both of them. Does that make total sense, guys? Okay. Right. And Brian, I'm super grateful for that conversation because it's allowed me to push a little bit more. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm like, I celebrate it and I love it. So, number one is, what do I want? Number two is, why is it that I want it? What's the pleasure? And number three is, why is it an absolute must? What's the pain? And here's the number four, guys, right? You got to own the sacrifice. If you're going to win on a regular basis, and I'd love you to write this down, I want you to write down, all success is built on the sacrifices I'm willing to make. You want to earn more income? You want to have, I got a goal right now, Nazar. 53 years old and I want to have 8 pack. I'm starting with a 6 pack. I want to have an 8 pack, man. Like it's, I call it Operation Look Good Naked, man. So don't, it's a horrible thought. I know. So don't even go there. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's sacrifices, no alcohol, no sugar, right? If I'm going to have like the success I want physically, like I got to own the sacrifices. And what a lot of people don't do, I'm going to actually scale down here because I'm looking at Brian. I want to have Jen and Andrew and what's up, Craig, right? If you can own, and this is so critical, if you can sit down and now you've got, what do I want? Why do I want it? What's the pain? What's going to drive me? And then you say, what are the sacrifices I'm going to have to make this next year? Right? Then Jen, when that shit comes up, it's easier to bite the bullet on it. Does that make sense? Well, maybe I'm not going to be able to take as the vacations that I want, and maybe I'm not going to be able to stay up late watching Netflix, or maybe I'm not going to be able to do certain things. Maybe I'm not going to be able to go out on the weekends and party or do whatever it is, right? If you can get ahead of that as it rears its head, you don't feel guilty having to make the sacrifices, and you can have the conversations with the people in your life, right? That are going to actually have an impact on that. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay. Let me give you an example really quick. I have a daughter, I have a son. Liam's my daughter, or Liam's my son. He's at ASU, right? So, like, has graduated. He's having a great time there, right? Sophia's my daughter. Okay. Liam played football, had 2 rides to be able to actually go play college level football, Andrew. When I was starting this company, right, I went to him because I did this exercise myself. I want you guys to understand, like, everything that I'm giving you, I've given to other people, I've done all myself. I'm the biggest Andrew Petri dish on the planet. Does that make sense? Okay. Like, I use this shit on me first, and then I move it out to the world. And when it works in the world on multiple people, I say, we got a strategy here. So, Andrew, summer of my son's senior year, right? He's playing a bunch of 7v7 football, right? That's sort of what they do during the summertime to be able to actually keep themselves like healthy and be able to actually be prepared for the next season. Um, I was traveling a bunch, and Craig, I had a conversation with him. I said, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna miss a couple of your 7v7 tournaments. I wanted to have the conversation with you about this, right? I'm gonna miss this one and this one, right?" And when I had that conversation with him, because Craig, I was bummed, man. You know what I mean? I wanted to be the dad that's always there. I didn't want to miss anything, right? Right. I had that conversation with him, and here's what he said to me: "Don't worry, Dad." He said, he goes, I get it. You're in a startup mode for your company right now. I'm going to play the same way and I'll make you proud. Don't worry about it. And when I make my million, which I'm going to make well before you ever did, right? He goes, I know that there's going to be sacrifices that I need to make as well, too. So it isn't just Joan and Johnson. It's not just owning it for yourself. It's letting your world, right, your family know about those sacrifices so that they can own it as well too. Does that make total sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay. Right. Because otherwise, what happens, Jen, we feel guilty as a mother, we feel guilty as a father, we feel guilty as a spouse, and we end up pulling back. And that keeps us from being able to win. Hey, Nazar, anything you want to say about that, brother?
See, like my I have this little drunk monkey in the back of my head that says, "Can't I have both?" And I wanted to get your thoughts on that because, like, what if I don't want to put 12 hours in, right? What if I don't want to work 14-hour days? What if I do want to be a present dad? Is that gonna limit me from truly giving my all? Can't I say, "I'm gonna work 8 hours, 9 hours," whatever that time is, and when I say I'm gonna commit to those hours, I'm gonna be 1,000% present and intentional with that time, and then when I say, "Then now I'm gonna dedicate my time to my son," or, whatever it is, then be 100% there. Is
Yeah.
that because like you talk about that? I remember Mike Ferry used to talk about that back in the day. Like, tell me more about your thoughts on like just how
Here's what I'll say.
yeah.
Balanced equals broke.
Uh,
100%. Okay. So, what I believe in is counterbalance, right? Okay. Where I'm going to own what I have to do because let's be very clear. If you're going to have a breakthrough, if you're going to double your income, if you're going to go to seven figures, it's going to require an enormous commitment that most people underestimate. And that's something that Mike Ferry taught me. Most people underestimate the commitment that it's going to take to be able to actually accomplish it, period. Right. And so, I have conversations on counterbalance like a ballerina on point, right? Okay, I'm going to counterbalance those moments. Now watch this. Liam, for his senior year, Brian, guess what we did? We freaking went down to Mexico. I took 8 freaking 18-year-old boys. I said, just get your airline ticket. I rented a $4 million house. I rented a 76-foot yacht. We had a DJ on the beach. They had the time of their life. You know what, Liam? He's going to remember that a lot more than me missing the one tournament because I had a conversation with him. Does that make sense? Okay. So, like, you've got to recognize that there's going to be these counterbalance moments. And sometimes in a season, you're on the hunt and your family, your friends, people need to understand that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's what I found. And there's this hallucination that's taught about you being balanced. I have yet to meet a high producer that has complete and total balance in their life, to tell you the truth. And that's the shit that no one wants to talk about. You think Elon Musk has complete balance? Do you think Jeff Bezos had complete balance? Right. Granted, they may not be the example that we want to have in terms of great relationships, right? Because they've cycled through other ones, right? But I always notice that there's these counterbalance moments that ultimately take place. Okay.
And I think I don't mean to argue what you're saying. I think it's important to be able to know what stage of life you're in.
Totally. Yeah.
And I also think that for real estate agents, now it might be different for you, but for realtors, all of you guys listening up, we don't give 100%. And so it's not like, back in the day or the poor and the middle class mindset is if I want to make more money, I got to do what? I got to
And
work
work more. Yeah.
because I make an hourly wage. And so if I want more money, I got to work more hours to be able to make more money. We as agents can do two things that they can't. One is we get to level up our skill set so that each hour that we work, we make more than we would otherwise.
Totally.
We get to determine how much we're worth, right? If that's to move to a different market, if that's to, level up our knowledge of the industry, that's to be able to be more honed in our skills to be able to convert at a higher level. We can do those things without having to necessarily work more hours per se, but just be more intentional.
Be more efficient. Be more efficient in your conversion, be more efficient in terms of your time, be more efficient in terms of your planning 100%, right? Okay. But as you're working on that efficiency, you've got to recognize you're going to have to over index on the control that you have, which is work more. Right. And so and I expect that there's going to be kickback on this because we've been sold a wrong bill of sale that it's going to be easy, and it's not. It's going to be really difficult. In fact, I want you to look at this really quick, if you guys would please. This right here, Jen, is something that I wish someone would have told me when I was 20 something years old getting into the business. Like if you're gonna have a breakthrough, you got to embrace what's called the startup mentality. You know who these two people are? That's Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. These are the founders of Apple. That's them working on the Lisa computer in the garage in San Jose, California. Right. And I always say, if you're going to embrace this startup mentality, number one, you got to recognize you're going to work 60, like truly work, Johnson, like 60 to 100 hours a week. You're going to be misunderstood. This sounds super depressing, but I promise you that it's not. You're going to be misunderstood. People aren't going to understand why you're working at the level that you are. People will criticize your commitment. They will judge you. You're actually going to have moments that you feel extremely lonely. Like, hey, Jen, there are moments that I'm at my house and I'm like, shit, no one gets this. No one understands what I'm going through. No one and that's okay. Because why? We're in startup mentality. You're going to forego the myth of work life balance. You're going to fail just as much as you succeed. You're going to want to quit in relationship to the goal. And here's the key: you will never feel more alive as you're going for the big goal. Does that make sense? Like, I promise you, you will never feel more alive as you're pushing. Nazar, I'm 53 years old. I feel like, Craig, I'm 35 right now. Why? Because I'm attacking, I'm obsessed, right? And I've owned this. So that's step number one, the two what's, the two whys. Now, by the way, there is another section. So developing the fire in the belly. I want to lean into one particular section here. If you're going to have that fire in the belly, own your what's and your whys. Set some clear long and short term goals. The short term goals, Joan and Doug, are critical because you got to have these milestones along the way where you're like, oh, dude, I'm winning right now. Does that make sense, guys? I'm progressing. I'm making progress. That's why I don't believe so much in a big annual goal. I believe in 90-day segments that you sprint during those 90-day segments. I know exactly what. God bless any of you that do a 14 or 15-page business plan from other organizations. I'm going to say that's complete and total bullshit, right? Because of the fact that most of us don't operate like that. We operate in shorter term goals that we can actually get in. Now, I want to lean into this last little bit. There's that, you see, it says, who is 25 mil bill? Okay. What I notice about highly successful individuals that actually accomplish great things is almost every single one of them have created what I call an avatar of who it is that they're becoming. Um, I won't bore you with the story of how this came about, but my goal is to have a $25 million coaching company that generates $25 million worth of revenue every single year. And in doing that, I started noticing there were certain things that I was doing that was not aligned with that. In fact, one of my ex-girlfriends brought it to my attention. She said she broke up with me, Craig, and said, when you're actually going to be the type of person that runs the company that you want to have, then we'll get back together. We got back together, but it opened up my eyes to something. I said, if I was already earning 25 million that the company was generating that in revenue, who would I be being? This is really important, guys. Pay attention to this, okay? And I created this avatar called 25 mil Bill. Now, every single one of you may have your 7-figure Craig or your, your 2 million Jen. The reason that this works is because when I create or you create that avatar, it allows you to win at a higher level because you now have a acid test that when things come up, you can say, what would that person do right now? Does that make sense, guys? Right? How would he or she respond? Okay. What would they do in this moment? And you're now holding yourself up against, and your actions are either aligning or unaligned with that person that you need to be in order to be able to accomplish that goal. Okay. So the first assignment that I'm giving you is your what's and your whys. The second assignment, if I was personally coaching you, would be, and I do this with every single person that I coach, is I'd say, create the avatar of that version of you that's already earning what it is that you want to earn. Okay. And then you use that as a decision making process. Now, let me go. I'm going to move this so I can see different people. Chuck. All right. Chuck and Jessica and Alicia and Kristen. I got you guys in my crosshairs now at this point. Okay. This isn't just business, Alicia. It's also personally. Because I look at that and I say, who is 25 mil Bill? As a business owner, as a father, as a significant other, right? So when my daughter, God bless her, I love Sophia. Does anyone actually have 16-year-old girls or ever had a 16-year-old girl? Right. So I went down to Sundance with my girlfriend. We had a wonderful weekend. I said, I should probably, this was just this last weekend, I should probably, Kim, check the cameras, right? Because our daughters are hanging out. My girlfriend's daughter and my daughter are friends. And we said, we should see what they're doing. They're hanging out at home. When I went to the cameras were pushed down somehow. They figured out how to push the cameras down. I call my daughter, right? I'm like, oh shit, right? She's been drinking. Like I knew it. I just knew it, Brian. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So, right. I had a moment where the normal me would want to tee off and kill her, which would have like just absolutely ruined our trip. But I asked myself, what would 25 mil Bill do right now? How would he handle the situation? Right. And it gave me a new access to decisions that I can make and actions that I can take. Right. So it isn't just business, it's personal as well, too. Does that make total sense, guys? Yes or no? All right. Right. Because does personal affect business? Hell yes. You better believe it, man. So I've got to be navigating both of those. So I would encourage you guys, create that avatar. And here's the last piece right now. I'm going to ask you guys a question. How do you handle failure? How do you handle failure? When I say that word, Chuck, failure, what comes up for you guys? I would love to hear some of you just like unmute yourself, like not the bullshit, like, hey, I've been to a whole bunch of pipes and fairy seminars and failure is this, but what's the real like underlying energy that you have when failure happens? Because if you're going to win, you're going to fail. Does that make sense, guys? Like the two, you cannot unwind the two from each other. So what's your general energetic response to failing?
I have one. We always, if we fail at something or we just didn't do well with something, we just learn from it. We take a lesson from it and
Yep.
we make a change and we move forward. That's
I
it.
love it, Kim. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. I wish I was that elevated in my consciousness, right? Because I get there, but I don't know about you guys. When I fail, it stings. How many of you guys, like when you lose a listing or you drive by and you're like, that, and you see a sign in like your farm or like a past client goes, I don't know what happened. I couldn't get a hold of you. So I bought through someone else. I would love to say that my immediate response is, okay, cool. What's the lesson and how am I going to do it? What I'm like is boofangu. I'm pissed off, right? Does anyone else have that experience at all? Right. So it should sting. If you get the chance, watch The Last Dance, right, on Netflix, which is Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I need you guys for 2 more minutes, then we'll bail. You get to see how Jordan used failure. Now, I'm going to share something with you. Many of you know the name Tim Grover. How many of you guys have heard that name, Tim Grover, before? Okay. How many of you guys have seen Tim speak? If you've been around Tom at all, or Tom Ferry, we've had him multiple events. I got the chance to actually talk to Tim, and I just want you guys to understand something. People that win on the regular, Kim, you're absolutely correct. They have a different relationship to failure. Okay. It stings, they take it personal. And I want you to write this down. It's okay to take failure personal. It's all right. It's okay to have that. In fact, you should. You know, you shouldn't like lose a game and go, shit, oh, okay. No. So I was talking to Tim. I was talking to him backstage, actually at, I think it was Summit or something along those lines. And we're having lunch. And I said, dude, like, level with me, bro. What's the difference between like the Jordan? Because keep in mind, if you don't know Tim Grover was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan. He was the personal trainer for Kobe Bryant. And I said to him, I'm like, what's the difference between those guys and the rest? And he asked me a question. Many of you guys have heard me say this. He said, "What do you do when you get knocked down?" And my immediate answer, Brian, was, "You get right back up." Right? That's just the normal thing. Like get right back up. And he goes, "No." He goes, "Here's the difference. When the greats get knocked down, they stay down for a little bit." Right? That's the take it personal, Kim, and let it sting. Right? Because that pain will be the access that you have to make a change. And he said, and then I'll pull this up for you. Then he goes, Jordan had 4 questions that we would work on. You guys want to know the Michael Jordan 4 questions that he used to be able to navigate through failure? Yes. Okay. Good. So, okay, good. Candace, this is for you because you're the only one that nodded your head, right? So let me ask the question again. How many of you guys want to get like a lesson from Michael Jordan right now? Like when I got this, I'm like, oh shit. This is something, honestly, Kim, that changed my freaking life. That became something that I use for myself, for my business, right? For my kids. So here's the 4 questions. And by the way, this is a PowerPoint slide. You guys will get this. I'll send it out to Nazar in a PDF format, and he'll send it out to all of you guys. Sound good? So you don't need to write it down. I just need you to listen to it. Hold on. Question number 1, right? Okay. How you turn that failure into feedback, that feedback into you winning. you ask yourself the first question, how am I responsible? Why is that important? Because if you don't take responsibility, and I know all of you know someone who they never take responsibility, and guess what happens? The same shit over and over and over again in their life. Why? Because the situation has power over them because they're not willing, they're a victim versus being someone that's at cause. Does that make sense, guys? So you got to look at it and go, how am I responsible? Number two, and by the way, I used this on a coaching call this morning with someone who was 5 minutes late for a coaching session, right? And is always 5 minutes late for a coaching session. Number two, what did I do or what did I not do to create the situation? I'm taking responsibility on it. And then I'm saying, okay, cool. What were my actions that led to this? You're going to notice that 1, 2, and 3, these first 3 questions are just, Kristen, giving me awareness on the situation itself so that I can make another decision. Number 3, what is the lesson in the failure? What is the lesson? What am I meant to learn from this? Do you know what pisses me off more than anything else? Is people that make the same mistake over and over and over and over again and don't get the lesson, right? Right? Like that is a pet peeve. In fact, in my family, guys, it's sort of funny. We'll go back to that Sophia example. Fia, my daughter, did not get in trouble for the party, right? She had a party. Like, do you know why she didn't get in trouble? Because there's a rule. The rule in the Pipes family is the first thing, if you do something that is incongruent with our family, it's a mistake, right? Now, if you learn the lesson, if you do it again, that's a choice. Does that make sense? And if it's a choice, I swear to goodness, the wrath of hell will come down on you like you have never imagined in your life. She throws another party, Kim, it's over, right? But the first is a mistake, learn the lesson, get the new strategy. But if you do it again, it's your choice at that point. Does that make total sense, guys? And it isn't just Fia. I hope you can see the lesson for yourself in your own business. And then the fourth question is, how will I adjust my approach so that this never happens again? In that scenario, how am I responsible? What did I do to create it? What is the lesson in the failure? What will I do and change so it never happens again? That allows you to continue to maintain the winning that you want to actually have take place. Okay. So you got 3 strategies here that I noticed that just about every single person committed to excellence that has huge breakthroughs in their business and their life actually utilize on the regular. Nazar, I'll turn it over to you to wind this down here today, brother.
First of all, who's excited? Like, this was an amazing call. Thank you so much, Bill, for
Thank you.
helping us be able to get excited about this. I was thinking that, you're right. The 14-page plan is probably going to be something that someone does once and never looks at again. So maybe you condense it down to 1 page or 2 pages at the
Totally.
most, and then do it on a quarterly basis instead of focusing on the whole year. Because again, things change, right? Things evolve. Um, at the end of the day, I think it's, no matter how it is or how much energy you put into this, if you're not obsessed with what you're doing and if you're not enjoy what you're doing, change it. Right. If real estate's not it for you, g- go get another industry or jump into another industry. But if this is it, there's so many different aspects of real estate that you can do. If you're not passionate about what you're doing right now, change it up. Right. There's so many different lead pillars that Bill talked about. There's a ton of them. Focus on the 3 or 4 that he was talking about that you are excited about. And it won't seem like work because every single day you wake up and you be excited about doing what you want to do because you're be passionate about it.
Totally, man.
Um, Bill, what other advice do you have? Like in the last thing, if you can say, going into elections over, how do they better prepare themselves in the next 45 days to set themselves up for an amazing January? What would you tell them?
I've got everyone over indexing on building their pipeline right now. Like, I mean, I know it's not sexy, but if you aren't doing 2 hours a day of lead gen or lead follow up, you aren't in the game. Like, period. You just aren't. You know what I mean? And now you're coming upon the end of the year. There's a lot of agents that have mentally checked out already at this point. There's incredible opportunity that's going to take place. On the next call with you guys, I'll lay out what's going to happen with interest rates and the market and everything else. I didn't have time to do that today, but we're going to roll into the new year projecting somewhere around 6% interest rates. Okay. And what all economists have said is we need to be in the 6% and hold for 30 days for the market to ignite. Right. And we saw it happen in September. We got a taste of it in September. Right. And I want you to look back on September and you guys go, oh shit, we got a little bit busy. Oh, that was rad. Okay. That was fantastic. That's coming for a longer term come January. Rates are just being super sticky and very stubborn right now because money's in securities. It's not in bonds. Bonds have to raise the yield so that they can be appealing and so that they can bring money back, et cetera. I won't get into that. But recognize 2 hours a day. That's your minimum right now. Okay. Just till the end of the year. It's a freaking sprint. Number two, keep yourself educated. Spend 10 to 15 minutes per day on KCM, on Altos, on Housing Wire, listening to the appropriate talking heads so that you can offset the negative narrative that a lot of people have right now. Okay. About what's going to happen in the real estate market. Okay. And then number three, actually, those two. I think those are the two biggies that when I think about what I'm indexing on. Oh, number three, freaking continue to work on your mindset right now. I got everyone on this 1800 challenge, right? Because A, we lose a little focus at the end of the year. B, we're coming off of an election where it was dirty, nasty, and wasn't fun. You know what I mean? And like you got a lot of people. I was talking to Angie, this gal that is a friend of mine, and she's like, there are so many people pissed off about the election. Like she's like, I'm around this all the time, and etc. We're still dealing with a little bit of that negativity. So you've got to just to keep yourself even at this point, it is necessary for you to be pouring good shit into your head. You know what I mean? So and one last thing, do some shit in the next 6 weeks that inspires you. I'd lost, honestly, Brian, I lost some inspiration. If you guys look at my Instagram, I hadn't done any organic videos at all. And I tried, Nazar. I was like, I'd shoot a video. I'm like, I'm just not inspired. Yesterday, I went snowshoeing yesterday, right? And I was gone for 2 hours. And I negotiated with myself to actually go and do it. And while I'm on the trail, I shot 4 videos. Why? Because I was inspired again. I was doing something that I loved, right? If you aren't inspired, or it's difficult for you to be inspiring, and we've got to be somewhat inspiring to our clients to be able to actually move them forward. So, okay.
I've been going to the gym. I've committed to it, and I've been going for a couple weeks now. And it's kind of interesting to see that the guys that are like the meatheads and the people that are just like skinny, and then the fat people that are there that they're trying to change their behaviors. And what's interesting to me is that those guys that are meatheads, they're in the gym for 4 hours, right? You go there any time of the day, they're freaking there.
Always there.
And, and so, like, it's the same principle, right? Like, if you are not tenacious and just fanatical about what you're doing, then you're not going to see the results. You're not gonna gain muscle just by looking and thinking about it and wishing it and doing all that stuff. You got to put in the freaking work to be able to make it happen.
Totally.
So
Be obsessed. It's okay to be obsessed, by the way. It's okay to be obsessed. And maybe you're not obsessed about your goal, but could you get obsessed about becoming great at converting leads? Could you get obsessed in terms of your past clients and sphere? It doesn't need to be the overall goal. You can micro niche this down and say, dude, I can get obsessed about this. I heard one last thing and I'll let you guys go. On our campfire on Tuesday, I had Buck Wise. I'm not sure if you guys know who Buck Wise is. He's brilliant when it comes. Nazar, I'll send that recording out to you and you can send it out to the entire crew because it was amazing, right? This is a guy that was Grant Cardone's marketing director, right? So to give you some insight into like his level, he's Ryan Serhant's like primary person that works with Ryan Serhant right now on all of his marketing and social media. And I asked the question, what's the best social media platform to be on? He said, it depends. Go in the area that is easy for you to do. He said, if you like doing little shorts, go on TikTok. If you like longer form video, go on YouTube. If you like find what lights you up and lean into that because you'll do it for a longer period of time. And success is all about consistency for a long period of time. I love you guys. I got a jam. Hope you got value out of today. I look forward to our next one. I'm not sure we're going to talk before Thanksgiving. So if we don't, I just want to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. We have so much to be grateful for as we move into A, you're part of this company. B, you've got an insane leader. C, we get to see each other on a regular basis, but most importantly, we live in the greatest country on the planet, right? Okay. And we get the opportunity to be able to actually set an intention, create a goal, and freaking work our asses off. And the only thing that stands in the way is us, right? So crush it, guys. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.